Hey guys, today and this week on the Daily Mastermind, I want to talk to you about reshaping your identity and really 10xing everything that you're doing. Why am I talking about this? Well, at the end of this week on Thursday, we're actually launching an Academy Live event, which is going to be talking all about a major growth strategy that I believe can help you to grow your business. And that strategy is creating authority in the marketplace. It's the way that you're going to be able to cut through the noise, cut through all the people that are using AI and trying to become experts and truly dominate your space. And that's going to require you to be able to create authority. And to do that, I believe one of the biggest hurdles people have is reshaping their identity and finding ways to truly stretch their thinking and become 10x thinkers. So this whole week, we're going to be talking about that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday leading up to our event, which is on Thursday night. So I hope you'll join me and look at the links in the show notes for more details. All right, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. I'm glad you're with me this morning, and I hope you had a chance to listen to the episode yesterday where we really talked about what we want to do through the end of the year in addition to what we want to set yourself up to do this next year, and that is to 10x your life. I think so many times that term has been overused, 10x, because I know that a lot of people think of that as 10xing your effort and things like that. But what I talked to you about yesterday is that this concept of 10x is easier than 2x truly is something I'm starting to really get focused on because I've seen some major transformations in my life. So before we get into the topic today, let's go ahead and go through the Daily Mastermind quote of the day. In fact, you know what? If you want to get the quote of the day, go ahead and jump over to our Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok page. I'm going to kind of digress a bit and give you a quote of my own. I really think today the quote from Napoleon Hill is the most appropriate. What the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. It's one of my most favorite quotes. What the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. He goes on to say with a positive mental attitude. But the bottom line is this. You have to believe that you can achieve things in your life regardless of where you're at. You might be crushing things, you might be struggling, you might be having, all kinds of doubts and fear and disbelief. But the bottom line is this. If you truly want to make a change in your life, there's no reason to wait. It's time for you to make those changes right now before the end of the year. Be like, look, most successful people don't try to finish the year. They punch through the year. They don't get to the finish line. They go through the finish line. And so the bottom line is this. If you truly want to transform your life, which is what we're talking about this week, you really have to drill into some things that are more qualitative, not quantitative. It's not about the number of reps you're doing. It's not about the number of leads you're calling. I mean, that comes in, and that's a part of it. It's going to boil down to these concepts and things that I'm going to share with you this week in the book by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. 10x is easier than 2x because it takes a shift. It takes a complete shift in three core areas of your life: your identity, your time, and your leadership. Your identity, time, and leadership. And so that's what we're covering for the next couple of days. And then on Friday, I want to talk to you about how you have to really shift 80% of what you're doing into a new area. Because remember, 2x mindset is just doing twice as much of what you're already doing. 10x mindset is doing something completely different. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes of your time this morning and talk about this idea of identity, because you're going to have to shift your identity, your time, and your leadership, the way you look at all three of those areas. I'm not talking about the typical identity, time management, and leadership qualities. I'm talking about a serious shift in your paradigm. So identity is something that's made up of a lot of different factors. But I'm going to focus today on the couple of factors that I've really studied and applied through this, 10x is easier than 2x. And that is that your identity is made up of two things: your story and your standards. Your story and your standards. So let's talk about your story for a second. All of us, as you know, you've heard this concept over and over. All of us have a story, a narrative, something that we have formulated over the years based on our past. Based on our past, we've created a story which really applies a filter to our life. And you have to get really aware of what that story is. What is it that you're utilizing from your past experience as a filter for the stuff that you're doing, whether it's decisions or priorities or whatever it is? And your story is made up of, really, I want to draw your attention to not just your past, but your past, your present, and your future. See, successful people really learn to visualize and manifest that future version of themselves, the life they want to live, the places they want to be, that 10x life, and they pull from that future into the present. The problem with most people is their story is primarily driven by their past. You know what it's like, your past experience in business, your past experience in failures, your past experience with situations, whether it's in personal business or, social life. Most people use their past to make decisions into the future. Now, if you're really starting to shift your awareness, what you're starting to do is you're starting to make your decisions based on your present. And your present life will just draw from experiences from your past. And so that means you're making progress. But truly, if you want to go to the next level, you've got to learn to clarify and visualize what you want in the future, your future self, the version of you that's more confident, more fulfilled, more productive, yet more results. Look and clarify that future vision of yourself and use that vision to guide your present moment. In other words, not what does your past tell you or what do you feel confident or feel you have belief to do right now, but what would the future version of yourself do in a situation like this? When you can get clear about that person, that more confident, more successful, more comfortable, high belief type of future version of yourself, you're going to make decisions differently in the present. You're also going to transform the way you spend your time, the way you do your leadership, the way you, set your goals. Because what would the future version of yourself do? Would they be caught up in situations based on the past? Would they be caught up on current obstacles? Or would you see the vision of where you're going? And so the current obstacles just become a challenge for you. See, the story that you have and the narrative you have of your past and your future, that's going to determine your identity. And I would argue that if you would spend more time identifying and clarifying that future version of yourself, that 10x version of yourself, that a lot of what you do in the present would change. So your story is one part of that. The second part is your standards. Now, your standards that you're committed to, they're going to guide your decisions as well, and they're going to guide your identity. Your identity is going to be based on your standards, and your standards is really nothing more than the floor and the ceiling of where you set your standards. In other words, your floor is usually your standards that you work from. And that's the accountability you hold yourself to, the confidence level you hold yourself to, the abilities that you feel that you have. And the ceiling is really where you think you can go, where you'd like to be. You think about your floor being what you're willing to do for your mind, body, spirit, your business. What are the standards that you're currently running your life by? What is the way you manage your time? What are the standards that you have for your confidence, for your ethics, for everything that you have? The ceiling is something that I believe you don't necessarily control as much, because that's going to be that vision of where your standards should be. The goal here is to raise the floor. So as you start to go to the next level, you're taking and dialing up a notch with your physical activity. You're dialing up a notch with your efforts. You're dialing up a notch with your expectations, with your confidence. As you produce, as you move forward, you can raise that floor, raise those standards. The more you raise your standards, the more you keep those promises to yourself, the more your confidence is going to increase, and the more your identity is going to come in line with what your future 10x self is. Because your ceiling is raised when you raise your floor. As you start to raise your floor, you know what it's like. As you get more confidence, you earn more income, you have more fulfillment, you start to aspire to a higher level. So your ceiling of your standards is going to constantly raise as long as you're working on raising that floor. So I would really encourage you to do what you can, to see what you can do to raise the standards that you're living your life by right now. So the idea here that I've shared with you is, with your identity, be aware of the fact that are your decisions, are your perceptions being driven by your past, by your current circumstances, or are you allowing yourself to create that true vision of your 10x self and making your decisions based on your future self into the present moment? Because I think that's going to accelerate you faster. And then what can you do to raise the floor, raise the floor on your standards today to go to the next level. So that's the message I want to share with you. And tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about how you can then shift your time, and then we'll talk about leadership and talk a little bit more about how you can make major transformations on Friday. This is just thoughts I'm sharing with you. The goal is, and the truth of the matter is, you have greatness inside of you. You have the ability to determine what it is. You've got to give yourself credit. You know that the 10x version of yourself in the future has the answers to the problems that you're dealing with, as well as the solutions to new opportunities. So today we talked about identity. Tomorrow we're going to talk about time, go into some leadership. And what I'd like to do is just ask you to share this show. If you've gotten anything out of this, share this so that we can kind of get more and more of our message out, because my goal with the Daily Mastermind is to inspire, motivate, and educate you. That's my message for today. I hope you have an amazing day. I look forward to talking with you tomorrow. Once again, my name is George Wright III. This has been the Daily Mastermind. Talk to you then.